Welcome to Reestablishment with Bodie DeAndre, and I am, of course, Bodie DeAndre. Hey, I've got one of my special friends here today. Probably the only guy that can do what he does in the world today. But I want him to tell a story before we get to what he's doing today, because part of what we do at Reestablishment is we talk about foundational issues, and we talk about things that affect just about everybody. But he has a story that is not just a story, it's his life, and it's true. And it occurred a little bit before my time, because he's older than me, but literally about 3 miles from where I live currently, right down the street. And so, Bill, welcome. Glad to have you as always.
Thank you.
You've been an influence on me and my life. But I want you to tell those that are listening today your story from the beginning. If you would, just what your home life and what was going on as a young child, and then what happened to you.
Yeah. It's funny that we would have this opportunity, because I've been talking probably more than maybe I should be about defining moments and foundational times that make it or break it for people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those defining moments don't always come with an RSVP.
Yes.
And either you get it and you allow it to move you to where you need to be, or you just say, this is really bad. And so you become the victim of your own issues. And so when I look back, it was 1960. And my family, my mother's an alcoholic. My father was gone. So it's kind of that same backstory that a lot of kids have.
Yeah.
But when I was 12 years old, that became that year where she was gone off the rails. My sister was gone, so it was just me and my mom. And she was actually working in a bar there on Highway 19. And so we were walking down the street, and she just took my arm and she said, "I can't do this anymore. You wait here." And there was a bench that was on Park Boulevard.
Yep.
But when it was
By the railroad track.
that's exactly correct. And so I sat there, and she never came back. So I sat in that plain, stained place 3 days, no food, no water. And so
At 12 years old,
yeah,
you really didn't even have a family at this point.
no, not really. No, and so, and you don't, she said, "You wait here." Okay, so I waited there. That was
Right.
it. But it became obvious that she wasn't coming back. But 12 years old is kind of that line of demarcation
Yeah.
for a lot of kids. I'm not old enough to know exactly what to do. And I would just, so I didn't know what to do.
You were being obedient.
Yeah, but I didn't, and I knew now because, so I laid down on the bench at night, but I stayed there, and on that,
We had no place to go.
there was no place to go.
Right.
So I was stuck. But on that third afternoon, there was one man, unbeknownst to me, his story, found it out much later, but he was leaving work and he was driving to the hospital to visit his own son after work, who was dying of leukemia. And so he had seen me sitting for those first 2 days in that same place.
With the same clothes.
Same deal.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything. And so the third afternoon, so he pulls his car over and he walks over, and his own kid's dying. So you and I know in today's mindset, most people would say, I got my own problems. I got my own issues.
Yeah.
My own kid is dying. But every once in a while, you find somebody that chooses to do something maybe not normal, but that was his choice.
Were you defensive about maybe talking to strangers, or
Not really.
you had nothing else to?
I had nothing anyway.
Yeah.
But he came over and he looked at me and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Are you okay? You're watching this and you don't understand this." All he asked me, he said, "Are you okay?" And I used to stutter really bad when I was little. And I tried to tell him, my mom's gone and I'm just hungry. So when he heard that, he didn't have to go to a conference.
Huh. Yeah.
He didn't have to go to a seminar. He just got me a hamburger and a Coke. And I remembered sitting on that bench with him. And I remember. And then I told him, my mom is just gone. And I don't know where she is. And at that moment, that, again, if you want to really talk about foundations and defining moments, here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. Because anybody could have picked me up sitting there those 3 days. You know it.
Right.
I know it now. And so anybody could have been a drug dealer, could have been a pedophile, anybody. But this.
But not even a policeman.
No, nobody. Nope.
Like, they could have taken you.
Could have been.
Nothing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so he said, look, he said, our church is taking kids to go to a church camp. He said, I think it would be good for you to go. And I said,
Had you ever been to a church?
no, I've never been to church in my life.
Did you know anything about God?
Nothing about anything. And when he said, it's a church camp, and I said, okay. Looking back at it, it's like, okay, kind of didn't make sense. But
It was a bed.
when you don't have anything else.
Yeah.
And so he got on the phone, and this was all happening within a 5-hour period of time. He stops, gets me something to eat. We talk. He calls his church, and they had just started taking kids to a camp up by Lakeland, Florida. And he said, look, he said, I will sponsor you to go, and you spend a couple of days there, and let's see what happens. And so I found out later that we called his church because he didn't have money. So we borrowed $17.50 to send to this Sunday school camp. And it was the first 2 nights, and I mean the proverbial fish out of water. Okay. And I'm sitting at the back. I don't understand what's going on, but I heard, it was Wednesday night, and I heard the preacher say, if you need to give your life to Jesus, come to the front. Now that's as abstract of any concept a little 12-year-old kid who's never in the church and doesn't know where he is, doesn't know where his
And
mother
you're sitting in the same clothes
and
now for a week.
same stuff. And so, and I heard him say, if you want to give your life to Jesus, come to the front. Okay. And I saw a bunch of other kids going up to the front. So I'm kneeling there at the front of the auditorium, and I saw these other kids kneeling. So I'm thinking, okay, that's what you got to do. This is how this works. And then I saw other older people coming up and praying, laying hands, knowing, not exactly understanding, but they were leading these other kids to the Lord. And so I'm sitting now at the front, and I was the only kid. It's funny what you remember.
Yeah.
And so I'm the only one. I am the only kid now that does not have an adult praying for them. So I don't know what to do. And so I'm just sitting there. But apparently the guest speaker saw, he goes,
What was going on?
he said, just talk to Jesus, little boy. He'll hear you. Okay. But I remember exactly. Now, this was 1960. But I remember exactly what I said at that time.
What was that?
I said, Jesus, my mother doesn't want me. I said, now these church people, they don't want me either. I said, but if you want me, I'll give my life to them. And something happened. So on the carpet in this old rundown church camp, and for the first time in my life, I felt like somebody loved me.
Yeah.
Now
And that's your first prayer.
that was it.
Your first prayer.
That was it. That was it. And people would say, well, that doesn't make sense. Didn't make sense. But I guess it did. And something happened that night. I made a decision. I didn't know exactly what that decision was going to entail.
You didn't reason it. You couldn't reason it through.
No, I couldn't. And so that was the beginning. Something was put into motion that night in that old camp. And I've learned since then, after 60 years of ministry, I have learned it's not so much of what you accomplish in life as what you put into motion.
Yeah, so a true throwaway kid in an area of Central Florida, West Central Florida,
Yep.
not known for that.
Nope.
There was a church within a half a mile with where you were left off.
Yeah.
Several, actually.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And yet you were a throwaway kid. But one person making one positive act
Yes, sir.
led to your life being changed.
With his own issues in his own family. He had no
Couldn't even pay for your
logistical reason to stop. His own kid was dying, but he stopped for me.
Yeah.
He stopped for me. And so people wonder why I have committed my entire life and ministry for doing ministry with kids.
Can I fast forward a little bit?
Please.
So, yeah, take a story like this, and the part we don't have time to talk about was several families that took you in.
Yep.
It wasn't nobody that adopted you.
Nope.
You kind of went from house
And
to
I
house.
lived at the church probably in a maintenance closet that the church that this man went to, because he was just the ordinary Christian.
Yeah.
He wasn't a preacher. He wasn't an evangelist. He wasn't on the board of demons. He was just an ordinary Christian whose own kid was dying. But he stopped.
He saw a need. He saw a need.
And that's why I say the need is the call. And if you see a need and you can fill it today,
Yeah.
that's the call of God for you today. I've seen 3 books walking around this convention about the call of God. The need is the call.
Yeah.
You see it, you do it today. That's the call
Yeah.
today.
And I heard you years ago say something you probably don't even remember, but you were taking up some money to help with some kids, and we'll talk about this in a minute, in New York City. And you said, don't give till it hurts, give till it helps. How deep were you willing to go? And fast forwarding your story through a series of other people that started to coalesce around you.
Yes, sir.
You ended up in Bible college.
Yep.
You ended up being one of the top Sunday school ministers in the United States by just doing what the only thing you knew.
Sure.
You pretty much were still stuck as a kid. You never really had that growing up
Nope.
transition into adulthood. And so as an adult, you understood kids. From there, God led you into New York City. I want to pick that up a little bit because Bushwick, at the time,
Yep.
I think you were the only white guy there.
I was in that neighborhood.
And when we talk about racism, you were on the other end of what we traditionally think of racism.
Yes, sir.
And you decided to stay after having been stabbed, shot, and you said, no, I'm going to reach the kids in New York City.
Sure.
You've been in New York City now for 40 years?
45.
45 years.
Yes, sir.
And people that don't understand New York City, there's not a long lifespan in that group of people, whether it's gangs, violence,
Yeah.
or whatever. And you yourself, because how you were raised, had rickets. I hope you don't mind me saying
That's
that.
fine.
Because
Sure.
you were malnutrition
That's right.
and your rib cage didn't form right.
Right?
And you have kids in New York City, they're in the same situation. And in 45 years, though, you have been through 3 generations
Yes, sir.
of people.
Yes, sir.
You would normally say maybe 1, but they don't live long
No.
without hope.
And guys in ministry in New York City don't stay that long.
They don't.
Place that you know.
They don't
If they
stick it.
come and go, they come and go for a lot of different reasons. And so,
They don't stick it out.
no. The
And
longevity.
you know, dude, and I've thought about this, and you've had this hit your own family through the years. Can you really blame some people that maybe don't, that can't?
I get it.
And
I get it.
that doesn't offend me.
Yeah.
If you can't stick it out, God doesn't want you to be miserable.
Yeah.
When He calls you, He's going to equip you. And if the fire's too hot, then maybe you do need to do something else rather than to make a mess of what you're doing. But Bill has stuck it out. And through that time, just, I would say not too many years ago, you've really opened up international. And so what I really want people to know is this is a brief synopsis of 72 years of your life.
It's a lot
right?
to take put
So-
together in one.
And I will say this as a young person, I would follow you to different places to hear you speak because you were in your 20s at the time and or maybe almost 30 and you were speaking and you were raising money to help these kids and doing children's church events. And I would go, man, I didn't come from that background, but he says stuff I want to hear. And when I became a youth pastor for a short period of time, you know, I'd skipped all the classes for youth stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an evangelist. And I became a youth pastor and I sat at my desk. They kicked some Royal Rangers out of the room
Yeah.
with big, thick green shag carpet. And they said, this is your office. And I sat there and looked and I said, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know how to be a youth pastor. And I remember saying to myself, what would Bill Wilson do if he was here? And I built my youth ministry based on what I had seen you do before.
Yeah.
So I went to McDonald's and I said, give me a bunch of orange syrup and a 2x4, and we're going to make a huge popsicle in
That's it. That's
a
it.
55-gallon trash can.
That's right.
And we're going to go pick up trash down the street. And I just began, you know, getting an old van that barely ran, started picking kids up. And because I had watched your life. Fast forward now that you are so international. And I started off this saying, you're the only guy in the world that does what you do. Because you're probably the only guy in the world that has been where you've been. And I think that's why God has used you like He has. So tell the folks now, because I also want to I'd like to give a call to action as well.
Sure. You bet.
So Metro Church is the name of your ministry.
Metro World Child.
Metro World Child.
Yep.
Still in New York City.
Yep.
But you are now international. You have the largest Sunday school in the world.
Sir.
In this past week, how many kids did you have?
1,604,000.
Can you say that one more time?
1,604,000.
Kids in children's church.
Sunday school. It's Sunday.
In
We
Sunday
still
school.
call Sunday school because I want everybody to understand that this is not some little program. This is life and death stuff.
Yep.
This is a life and death deal.
How many countries are you in?
We're 22 countries.
22 countries.
Yes, sir.
Countries that most people wouldn't go on a good day.
No, I mean, I've done 4 tours of Ukraine in these last couple of years, spent the time that needs to be spent in Gaza. I'll be going back there by the end of this year.
Yeah, how many people get picked up by the IDF in Israel and get escorted into Gaza to rescue kids? You won't hear that on mainstream news.
No, sir. No.
You can't just fly into Israel and have the IDF pick you up and take you in to rescue kids.
Because 7 years ago, that's where I got shot in the back in Syria by a Russian sniper. It was a .308 round. It almost went through my vest. But the IDF came in with the chopper, picked me up, took me to the hospital in Jerusalem. But when I was there with them, they said, okay, you live in New York. I said, one of our parents lives in there. That was the connection. There was the hook. Because this guy, he said, whatever you need, you let us know.
That was the one act of kindness. You come back around.
These defining moments, and you got to understand this, folks. Moments that determine things, to put something into motion that you just.
How many countries are you in?
22.
22 countries.
Yes, sir.
And I know because we've talked about this before. The Philippines.
Yeah. Been there 25.
Where the kids are living in a cemetery.
In the North Cemetery.
They live in a
garbage
cemetery.
dumps. Yeah.
In the garbage dump.
And we do Sunday school there every week.
Every week.
It's not a crusade. It's not a one-off. This is every week. There has to be a level of intensity and consistency.
There has to be consistency.
It's got to be both. People look at me. There are pastors that would never have me speak at their church because then they said, you're too intense. I get that.
Yep.
I get that. You know how that works.
I do.
But that's what this takes to do this. Your commitment has to be stronger than your emotions.
Yes.
Most Christians live on their emotions. You can't do it because they change all the time.
Our commitment, and they'll lie to you. Your emotions can lie to you.
Very quickly.
Yes.
Our commitment is stronger than the emotions. That's why we're still there.
And I know you do this on a shoestring. What does your staff numbers look like?
Oh, we've got right now probably 350 staff.
Okay.
Yeah, which isn't much.
Not for 1.6 million.
They're having to raise their own support. I have to travel every week.
Yeah.
I drive the bus in New York, and there I leave Saturday night, preach somewhere on Sunday. Hopefully somebody catches it and says, hey, we can help. Sponsor a kid, something. But there's
you're planning on 2 million by the end of the year.
If everything keeps going at the rate it's going now, we'll be at 2 million.
And I'm telling you, these are not evangelical numbers. These are real kids.
No, this is real deal.
In real places.
Yes, sir.
Who don't have anything or very little.
Yes, sir. I was.
You were that kid.
I was.
You were that kid. And that's why you're the only person I know on the face of the earth that can do what you do. Bill, if somebody is watching this or hearing this today, how can they partner with you? What can they do to help you?
If they can just go to the website, it's all on there. That's the easiest thing. I guess that's what everybody does.
What's the website?
MetroWorldChild.org.
MetroWorldChild.org.
That's it. They can look at it.
Not only that, if you are a person that needs help, that's a place you can get help. If you're a young person who feels like you want to do this as your calling,
that's right.
They do training.
That's right.
And they will train you and they will equip you and help you.
That's right.
If you feel like this is something you want to do. I've wanted Bill to be on this since we started this podcast because I know his life. In summation, to take a throwaway kid in the wealthiest country in the world, in a good area,
Yeah.
in a nice place, where this kid fell through the cracks and had nothing in one act of kindness of one guy. And for the record, Bill never did put his family back together. He may not want to tell you that. Never connected with his father in the right way, never really reconnected with their mom.
My mother was found dead in the street.
Yeah, and so a couple half siblings.
Yeah.
But this story doesn't have a happy ending on that level. But the kids that have been rescued, the lives that have been changed forever, is higher and better and sweeter than you could have ever imagined. And so, Bill, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
When we talk about reestablishment, this is about stepping out, doing something that may be uncomfortable, or maybe you've tried to do it and then you miss the moment, and then later you go,
Yeah.
why didn't I do that?
That's it.
I've done that in my life, and I promised. Never,
I know.
never again. No, would I do that? And by the way, every time Bill and I get together, we cry. Because, not because we're two crying dudes, but because we see the pain and hurt in people, and we want to do what it takes to rescue.
Sir.
We are just a presence, a small force. It's God that changes the life, but we've got to go get them, and we've got to rescue them. Every week when he says he travels, he comes back to New York City to drive one of the buses to make sure he picks up the kids to be in Sunday school every week. There is no more champion of Sunday school and of a kids program in the world today that's changing lives. Would you please?
But how did it happen? And I know we got to go.
Yeah.
But it all started with one ordinary Christian man.
Yeah.
You know, we always say one person can make a difference. Let me tell you something, folks. 1,604,000 kids heard the gospel of Jesus last week. Because in 1960, the ordinary man whose own kid was dying stopped for me.
Yeah.
One person
Yep.
can be the catalyst.
And the best hot dog or hamburger and Coke
Yes, sir.
you ever had.
Yes, sir.
And your first prayer,
Yes, sir.
no one taught you how to pray. Your first prayer changed your life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Prayer can do that. Today, if you don't know the Lord, please cry out to him. If you want to partner in ministry, there is nobody that I can highly recommend more than Bill Wilson and his ministry. So would you please do the call to action? Go check out their website. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you, sir.
You know, every time we get together, our hearts always go back to, you know, what are the real things in life?
Yes, sir.
And what are the basics?
Yes, sir.
And I'm so glad you joined me today. I love you with all of my heart. So good to see you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Reestablishment. We'll see you on the next episode.
Raise your hands up. Raise them up. Reestablishment. Leave not incomplete.
With Kingdom Business Network, your business becomes a beacon of hope and transformation, contributing to a legacy of global impact. Join us at Kingdom Business Network and be a part of a movement that transcends borders and industries. Discover how you can join today at kingdombusinessnetwork.com and start your local chapter today.